gummy bear.
It's the internet. You're busy. Let's do this for August 2020. August 22. This is impossible to say. August 22nd, 2022. For the next hour or so, let me help you sort through the world of gaming on Game Mess Mornings Live with me, Jeff Grubb, a human clown. Today, after Sonic's film success, Sega is doing the only thing that makes sense, a Comic Zone movie? But first, please join me in welcoming today's co-host to Game Mess Mornings. It's Jordan Middler from VGC. How you doing, Jordan?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for having me. I've followed you once again. You're never going to get rid of me, I'm afraid, Jeff.
Yeah, you just showed up like a bad habit. I tried to drop you. Here you are again. Could you tell that as I was going through this rundown, I did not put your name in here, and I was about to say Mike Minotti instead.
Yeah, I assume I was like the 7th or 8th person you DM'd, but
you were actually this morning. You were the first, but it's just because I forgot to get a host for this week, and I'm like, yeah, you know what? Jordan's awake. It's the right time zone. But if I ask him, he'll be good. He's like, he already posted his review. He's good. And he doesn't want to be working on guides for Saints Row anymore. I'm gonna save him. I'm going to go rescue you.
Also, I'm like a kind of community creations version of Mike Minotti. Like, you get the same visual profile here. So
exactly. The Fire Pro Wrestling version. Absolutely. Yeah. I love it. So how you been? Like, it's just like, you want to give people like a little bit of rundown, like, you know, what you do, where you been at?
Oh, yeah. I'm a writer at VGC, who you'll probably know for all the news stuff we get up to. I've been working there for a good wee while now. It feels a lot longer than it has been in reality, but it's exciting. Despite it being a quiet summer for releases, being in the news grind, as you know, every week something ridiculous can happen. So I've been enjoying that, and yeah, it's been pretty much that. Getting back into review season. You can smell it in the air.
Madden is here, so therefore it has begun. I
couldn't believe that. When I got the email saying Madden celebrates its launch, I was like, surely not. We cannot be here already. That's just terrifying.
I guess, late August, right? That is right. That's the normal time. It is strange. It's not like going to go nuts immediately, although, we did a, Saints Row review, and we'll talk about that later today. There's still not like a super ton of games, and you can tell that people are like, Madden's coming out. I'm going to take a vacation that week. A lot of people taking their August vacations over the last couple of weeks. Makes a lot of sense, but, as soon as September hits, it's just going to go until the end of the year. But you're right, it's been a slow news year, or slow year for games. But there's still news to like out there, like dig up. That's what I like about VGC. I wanted to bring that up. You guys are always good at like finding those headlines and creating conversation, which is something like I always wanted to do more of. It was difficult at a certain point with me at GamesBeat, because if I would write about something, it would be like, well, clearly he knows everything about it. And I'm like, well, listen, guys, I'm just trying to figure this out with you. And like, nope, you know everything. I'm like, okay, listen, no. And I would get into that conversation. So it was always like very frustrating. And so like, you guys are like exist in this perfect spot where you can bring it up, be like, no, some other people are talking about that. We're VGC. Don't blame us. This is other people. And I'm like, yes, thank you so much for like getting those headlines out there to create content for this show.
And that's very much what Andy's going for. This kind of like almost BBC style, just the facts, just the news kind of thing. And it tries to we do stray away from that speculative stuff, that kind of stuff that is very in vogue the Twitter accounts with like empty profile pictures that go, oh, there's a Sony event happening in September, November, December. One's coming. But VGC is very much more buttoned up, although less buttoned up since they decided to hire me, which was their greatest mistake.
Yep, it's going to be their downfall. I keep telling them. I got you here so we can plan more of it. Okay, before we get into the mess, let's explain ourselves. Each weekday, I, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news, the catch-up, where we discuss the biggest topics consuming the lives of gamers everywhere, and maybe even bring some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you are watching live on Twitch, welcome. Hello, Twitch. How you guys doing? You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings, or find the RSS on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. Okay, we have a lot to get into, so let's start the morning mess with Splatoon 3 may use AMD Fidelity FX Super Resolution 1.0. This comes from Twitter account Oatmeal Dome, which basically just explains, hey, they saw this, looks like a copyright on maybe the store page for Splatoon 3. It says Splatoon 3 appears to be using AMD Fidelity FX Super Resolution 1.0. And I'll go ahead and bring this up here in the news assets. Note that this is not 2.0, which uses temporal upscaling, which is upscaling using data from the prior frames. 1.0 uses spatial upscaling based only on the data of the current frame. That's a lot of mumbo jumbo to basically say 2.0 much better than 1.0. It just is. Temporal upscaling is kind of magic. It's the magic that really makes NVIDIA DLSS work alongside its AI stuff. Now, AMD Fidelity FX Super Resolution, FSR, doesn't use the AI stuff, but the temporal stuff is pretty good. 1.0, still okay. Clearly, though, Nintendo investigating ways to make their games improve and perform better on the Switch, which is what, kind of what people want. They just thought maybe we would get it in a Switch Pro using DLSS because NVIDIA makes the hardware inside the Switch. So a little surprising to see Nintendo going with an AMD solution, right?
Yeah, I think this is an interesting situation where I certainly get the feeling amongst people that use their Switch, and especially in relation to the Steam Deck, it's like we're pretty much hitting the wall now, where modern games do not look as good as they could on the Switch, as everyone knows, and the cracks are starting to form. It's like towards the end of the 3DS era, when they were cramming these games that were clearly too big for the 3DS onto the Switch, onto the 3DS rather. And I can see this kind of approach from Nintendo just being like, as long as our stuff looks good enough, it'll be fine. Third-party games can run terribly. Like, we are losing the grip as the indie platform of choice for people that are going to get a Steam Deck. So I expect more of this kind of thing. Also, you have to consider, if a new Switch comes out, that doesn't just delete the billion Switches that already exists. The next Mario, Zelda, Pokemon are all going to have to come to that Switch as well and look good enough so that it's not a disaster. So these kind of fixes but not power improvements, I think, will become more common.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing where you would hope Nintendo would do something like this. It's just unexpected. I use these things on PC all the time. Even with a very powerful PC, it's good to be like, well, now I can have ray tracing and I can get maybe close to 120 frames per second at the same time if I'm running at like a lower resolution, and then turn on FSR or DLSS to kind of like magic my way up to that performance level I'm trying to get to. It's cool to see. And from the beginning with FSR, the whole idea of it's platform agnostic. They made it, they're like, but it's going to work on anything. You can run this on NVIDIA GPUs if you want. You can run this on any console. I'm like, okay, well, we'll see if that's ever going to happen. And I'm like, well, we'll definitely see Xbox do it. They're really close to AMD, but like Nintendo will just do DLSS. And that's what I was thinking at the time. But as time's gone on, it's like, well, FSR is kind of becoming more and more popular. I guess it's possible that some third-party developers on Switch might use it. And I think they have here and there. A few have used FSR. I don't think anyone's used FSR 2.0, but a few have used 1.0. But to see Splatoon 3 using it, hey, that's amazing. And I'm really thankful, even if it is 1.0. I think there's a small chance that maybe they'll use 2.0, but I wonder if there's like a hardware limitation there where the Switch maybe struggles with 2.0 in a way that it doesn't with 1.0. But still, like if anything, to get a few extra frames of improvement, especially on a small screen where something like FSR would be like, you're not going to notice the image quality drop that you're going to get from FSR 1.0 on a tiny little 7-inch, 8-inch screen or whatever. Maybe if you're playing on TV, but then you're plugged in and you get the improved performance of the Switch anyhow, so it's just less of an issue. Do you think this says anything about like Nintendo going forward in terms of like what they're looking for a Switch Pro? Does this, because to me it's like hard to like read those tea leaves.
Yeah, I really don't know. You think for a game like Splatoon that has this big multiplayer element, they're probably like, okay, performance actually matters on this one. Whereas something like Pokemon Legends Arceus, I love that game, but it's not a technical showpiece by any stretch of the imagination. I get the impression that Nintendo knows that they just have to, for their next hardware, make something that will be good enough for the next 5 years of their stuff and 5 years of smaller third-party stuff. If they can do that in interesting ways that's like software-based, that would be excellent. But I don't know, where is your guess for the next thing like time wise? Are you thinking 2024, 2023?
God, I go back and forth, right? I for a long time thought March 2024. But I'm like of the mind that more and more of the things, the pressures that are being put on Nintendo aren't like, oh, we need to keep the Switch going longer. We need something newer sooner, is where I think the wind is blowing in that direction. And for me, that is, it's definitely piracy concerns is number one, I think, on Nintendo's list, where they don't want the scales of piracy to flip over to be something closer to what happened in late era DS or mid era PS Vita and stuff like that and PSP. They want to like make sure they continue fighting against that, and one of the best ways they know how to do that is to release new hardware that resets the clock on that, on the how far to midnight we are on the piracy thing. They did that early on with the Switch revision that had the better battery life and stuff. That was part of countering piracy early on as well. So, but then a lot of people want more powerful hardware, and that's from the development side, it's from the gamer side. The Steam Deck is putting out that pressure where it's like, hey, we have handhelds that can run Spider-Man and The Last of Us probably once that comes out. So, why is the Switch so far behind? Well, it was old when it came out. So, yeah, I think Nintendo is in a position where they can put their finger to the wind and feel it out and make things move up or move them back depending on what they want and what they need. And right now, I think that it's blowing more toward late 2023, which, I don't know. I don't know for sure, but that's kind of where I'm at with it. How about you? Like, does that sound right?
Yeah, I think Breath of the Wild 2 is this big albatross around their neck where that will be the last kind of, and here it is on the Switch. I think stuff like Metroid Prime 4 that's way in the distance.
I think absolutely at this point.
Yeah, that's shot to the next console and the next iterations. I wonder if the next core Mario is also shot to the next console at this point. Like, I don't know where
maybe.
they are with that.
A good launch game, first year game, like that worked well for the last Switch. Yeah, maybe.
Definitely. And by the time they get to Breath of the Wild 2, I could see them, once that's out, they could feel comfortable in saying, okay, and here's the next one, and all your Switch stuff will run marginally better, kind of a PS4 to PS4 Pro kind of thing. But I don't know. I think it's a strange sell, and I think they might be in a situation where the Switch was this absolutely unprecedented sales powerhouse, and the Switch 2 doesn't hit that because obviously it's not going to have this big pandemic boost. It's not going to have all these other factors. So, and all the world is nosediving into recession. So, are people going to want to buy another Switch when we've already got a Switch?
Yeah.
So, it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, those are the other pressures where it's like you can't, like, are they going to try to time the market? And that's so difficult. All the indicators are going wild. No one knows what's going to happen next. So, they're probably like, oh, we could hold on, but things could get worse before they get better, whatever. I don't know. It's just really tough for them to try to time that stuff. So I imagine they're looking at what they can control and playing it from there. All this said, like, 12 to 18 months is what people in chat were saying. That feels right, but I would not be surprised if we get to January and they're like, hey, we actually are launching a Switch Pro in March, not because it makes sense, not because I think it's a good idea, but because Nintendo is so unpredictable. Yes, I wouldn't be surprised. All right, Sega is making more movies. This is from the Sega Twitter account. They write, Space Divas, comic panels, and the movies. Sega is partnering with Picture Start to produce film adaptations of Space Channel 5 and Comic Zone. Which parts of these Sega games are you most excited to see play out on the big screen? I want the part where she dances. I don't know what else to say about that. That seems to be the only thing that, yes. What are you excited about here?
I mean, honestly, this is such a Sega reaction to the Sonic movies being good. It's like, oh my god, we've finally done something that people don't absolutely despise. Let's just go full force. And then you're like, okay, so Yakuza movie, Yakuza Netflix series, something like that. That could be really cool. Nah, don't worry about it, mate. Space Channel 5 and Comic Zone. Ask 100 people in the street, do they know either of them? There will be one person that says yes, and it will be Chris Scullion. So no, I do not think that this is going to. This will never happen. Obviously, this is one of these things that we'll go back to and we'll say, "Oh, I remember that." But no, this is never going to happen. Right?
Because Sega is obviously aiming for big budget blockbuster level now because of Sonic. If this was like, "Hey, Netflix asked us for some IP and we threw something at them, and they're gonna like have some like Hollywood producer that understands video games put together maybe an anime, maybe a movie, who knows? Like, I mean, okay, yeah, I bet that happens, and I never ever actually turn it on and watch it, and I never hear anyone talk about it. When it comes to like, okay, the level of we are going to have a $50 to $100 million opening weekend box office because these movies are, that's not going to happen with these movies. Although Comic Zone as a concept is fine. Like that could totally work. You can make it like, kind of like in the vein of Who Framed Roger Rabbit or whatever, mixing up different styles and clashing this stuff through comic panels. But also that's the end of the idea too. So it's like you're still going to need a story and all that stuff. I don't know. In Space Channel 5, a sci-fi dancing music game. I mean, whatever. It's got style, and maybe that's enough these days. Like you could just kind of build something off of there if you have a talented team. It's just, I don't know if I have faith in them being able to pull that off.
I would have thought that the next logical step in like the Sega IP movie war would be do a Monkey Ball thing, because that's like such an obvious kind of like kids animated film that anything, but like
kids shows are like so in demand still. Like even all the ups and downs of Netflix and streaming and people coming in and out of the pandemic, people still want to put on shit for their kids, and that led to like the Costume Quest cartoon on Amazon, which is one I always bring up. Like that's weird that it has a show, but the Amazon Prime desperate for children's programming, and Super Monkey Ball would be great. You just kind of make them behave a little bit like the Minions mixed with I don't know, the A-Team. I don't know. Yeah. I think I just came up with a pitch.
You have the entire product line of like the actual Monkey Balls that you can just like launch.
Right, exactly. Like there's Bakugan or whatever. What's the Beyblades? You make it. You get that to go on.
Turn that show off. We have to write this down.
We got TM. I don't know if that works. Get a lawyer on the line right now. All right. Yakuza creator Nagoshi says his next game will be violent and silly like a Tarantino movie. This comes from Andy Robinson over at VGC. Yakuza creator Toshihiro Nagoshi has shared more details on his new IP being developed by Nagoshi Studio, his new studio under NetEase. Speaking to German publication 4Players, the former Sega veteran, it was like one word here, so it came like Sega-vetarian. I was about to say that. I was this close to saying Sega-vetarian. Sega veteran suggests that he didn't want to stray too far from the formula that made Yakuza games such a success: drama, violence, and humor. Of course, I can't reveal too much about our next game, but I can give a rough idea. It will definitely contain violence as a game element, but I don't want to go too much in the direction of thriller or even horror, he said. I want my game to be more like a Quentin Tarantino film, so there could be humor, something that's just intimidating or just bloody and brutal doesn't suit my taste. I want a human touch, a bit of silliness, and a bit of seriousness. That's what I'm in the mood for at the moment. To me, that sounds like Yakuza already, so I'm not too surprised by this. I mean, do you expect much of a change in tone beyond what he's describing here from his next game?
No, not really, and I don't think the people that were excited about this move want anything other than that, especially for their first game, just to get their kind of feet underneath them to make a game that is a very Yakuza-like. I don't think would be much of a problem. I'd be interested to see what the second game is, and if NetEase continue this huge kind of spree of getting veteran Japanese developers to come in and make this kind of super boutique. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. And when he says not wait long, I wonder if that's a next year reveal 24 release or something like that.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing where we hear about it next E3. Do we hear about it at the game? Like he teased it at the Game Awards or something like that. I don't know what kind of relationship he has with Keighley, but that's like that 6 month period from the Game Awards to E3 seems like it could drop anywhere in there. Could be partnership with one of the major platforms, but it's NetEase, so it's probably going to have some sort of. It's probably going to be a platform of its own in some way. Yeah. So I guess we'll see how that plays out.
And also, considering the amount of people that left from the Yakuza studio to go and form this studio, it's exciting to see what do the people that have been making this franchise for so long, what are they really wanting to make but haven't been able to because Sega wants them to make Yakuza. And I imagine that's what we'll get the second time around. Yeah. Whereas the first time NetEase were like, you're all extremely talented. Can you just get us a Yakuza in 2 or 3 years or something like that?
I think you're right. You're right. Like build that team by making a game seems like the right move there. All right, let's move on here to the Microsoft Activision merger has been approved in Saudi Arabia so far. That seems like the first country to actually approve it, which, all right, you got the approval of Saudi Arabia. Now you can be walking on clouds and sunshine. This is from Clobrio's Xbox content creator or whatever. It says Saudi Arabia is the first regulatory authority to approve the Xbox cross Activision Blizzard acquisition. You can see some of the details here. But, I mean, we are still kind of a long way off of this being approved everywhere. I wonder, I mean, I don't know how it works. If it gets approved in the United States and Europe, but then some country like, I mean, I don't know, like, let's say India is like, no, this can't go through. Does the deal still fall apart, or do they have to like do something different in India? I wouldn't know how that would work. But all that said, it feels like things continue to move in the direction of this thing closing and everyone just moving on. When all that like hubbub between Microsoft versus Sony and Brazil kept coming up, one of the big things of note was Sony was the only company that contacted Brazil to say anything negative about the deal. Everyone else, from Apple to all these other companies, Ubisoft, they just didn't care. Like, we don't care about this. This is fine, whatever. So it's probably going to go through.
I don't even think Sony thought they would get anywhere with it. They just
agree.
chanced it. They were
Yeah,
just like,
right.
oh,
The lawyers are just doing their job.
Yeah.
So like,
no, this is going to happen, and then in however long we'll get a big splash screen that's like Xbox plus Activision and all. I was going to say all the old Activision stuff, but all the old Activision stuff I would care about wouldn't go on Game Pass because of the licensing and all the music that was in stuff like that.
Right. Yes. It's gonna be. I wonder like what the first games that get dropped in there. I wonder if they're just like, oh, here's all the Spyro and Crash stuff. Just Game Pass ready to go.
Spyro and Crash
stuff. Yeah.
Classic Call of Duty.
Yes.
They could do a huge kind of hearts and minds move if they're like, okay, Black Ops, the original Black Ops and Black Ops 2 are in Game Pass, and we are going to support it online and get rid of all the like hacked servers and all this stuff, so people can actually come back and play this beloved Call of Duty again. That would be
nice. That would be great. I mean, I remember like going in those servers like a year after I stopped playing and being like, okay, well, almost I'm a giant, and every bullet I fire is an exploding gun. I'm shooting a gun out of my gun, and each one explodes, and it's a giant. It's like, okay, well, I mean, this is fun for 5 minutes, and then you like try to play a regular game, and it doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
Sony PlayStation is being sued for £5 billion amid claims it ripped off 9 million consumers. This comes from Megan Baines at Sky News. This is a wild one. Stick with me, chat. The legal claim is a collective action against the gaming company brought by consumer rights champion Alex Neil. It accuses the company of breach of competition law by abusing its market power to impose unfair terms and conditions on game developers and publishers, forcing up prices for consumers. It allegedly ripped off people by charging a 30% commission on every digital game and in-game purchase made through the PlayStation Store. Consumers have been overcharged for their digital gaming purchases by as much as $5 billion over the last 6 years, the legal action states. According to the claim filed with the Competition Appeal Tribunal on Friday, anyone in the UK who has purchased digital games or add-on content on their console or via the PlayStation Store since the 19th of August 2016 is included in the claim and is potentially entitled to compensation. And that compensation is going to start at around £67 or something like that. Let's see. Miss Neal says the game is up for Sony PlayStation. Jordan Middler, is the game up for Sony PlayStation?
Yeah, they're done.
Yeah, okay, this is it.
I can break this exclusively.
Wow.
Just got off the phone with Jim Ryan and told me that's it. He said, "I'm giving up." Desk.
Yep.
Yeah. No, nothing will happen with this because they'll just go every digital storefront charges. It's like it's what they do. Like, everyone relax. Although I wish it did, because the amount of like FIFA points I've bought, I must be entitled to about 60 grand if I can overcharge that much. So good luck, consumer champion. Congrats on your title belt. But
for real. It's the most important title in the world. Absolutely, no one's ever going to challenge her for that. This is I don't know. It's confusing to me because I thought like the markup at like retail was like 50% or like 100% sometimes, where it's like, hey, half the cost goes to a retail. Now I know that's not like, some things are like 3% or whatever, but it varies, sure. But the point is like your store, you take a cut of the sales. That's how it works for every kind of store, whether or not you're making your own goods or you are filtering other goods for other creators or whatever. Is the 30% fair? Probably not. Should there be some more regulation? Probably. But it doesn't feel like this is what's happening here, where like they are stealing money from people by charging for the service that they have. The 30%, is that how much it costs to run the store? No, they're trying to make a profit. Like I think you're right. This is going to be the kind of thing where, like, once the details get brought up in a court, they're like, listen, if we like punish these people for running their business to make money, it's just going to discourage other people from trying to run businesses. And maybe that's what they want, but it's like, I don't know. It's probably not what most people in positions of power want. So it's probably not going to go through.
When I woke up and saw this headline on my phone, I genuinely thought it was going to be about like $70 games. I thought that was going to be the whole big thing.
Hell yes, that would have owned, because people would have lost their mind even more than they have about that stuff.
I was like, that is such a traffic spinner. That would have been an amazing headline, but sadly not.
Oh, bummer. Next time we'll get Alex Neal on the phone and make this happen. Ubisoft is not making a Blade game. A series of images showed actors in Ubisoft performance capture gear. Some were holding weapons. The movie clapper slate thingy that you use to like start a scene in movies listed the production as part of a Marvel production, and it also listed the Blade director of the upcoming movie as the director on the project. I'll just bring up some of these images you can see here. Like he's got a Ubisoft logo right there on his capture gear, performance capture gear. And then if you go down here, they're holding a clapper and it says B Tariq, I think is how you say it. Bassam Tariq. And then if you go and look it up on the internet, Blade is directed by Bassam Tariq. So what's happening here? Well, Ubisoft says they're not making a Blade game. If this suggested to you that they are making a Blade game, they came out and said simply, sorry to slice up the rumors, we're not making a Blade game, but we can't wait to see what our friends at Marvel Studios are cooking up for next year's movie. Jordan, what do you think happened here? Because this is strange.
Is this a case of Marvel just using Ubisoft's capture facility?
That's the simplest explanation to me, I think. That's kind of what I thought. I saw some other people speculating about that. Ubisoft has Ubisoft Pictures. They also, probably do pretty good performance capture for many of their games. When that stuff's not being used, it's just burning a hole in their pocket, right? Like, then why not, like, on months when, or, there's probably a couple of weeks out of the year where they're not going to be using it for any of their games. You should be hiring that out. Like, there probably should be someone in charge of renting that out. And it seems like these actors are probably just in France ready to go or whatever. So that's just not too surprising, I think. Still, it is weird to see that Ubisoft logo and be like, oh, this has got to be a Ubisoft project, right?
Yeah. No, they actually cancelled the Blade game during their earnings call last month or whatever. That was one of the games that get chopped off.
Breaking news left and right here. All right, PGA Tour 2K23 announced with Tiger Woods on the cover. Let's see, and Michael Jordan is a playable character. Actually, see this when I put this on here. Eddie McHugh at GameSpot writes, following last week's leak, 2K Sports has officially announced PGA Tour 2K23, the next entry in the professional golf series that is being released during one of the most tumultuous times in the history of golf. As rumored, Tiger Woods will grace the cover of the game's deluxe and Tiger Woods editions with launch on October 11th. The standard edition, meanwhile, arrives a few days later on October 14th. Excuse me. Woods is also the cover star for the standard edition and is playable in the game. Additionally, Woods worked with 2K and developer HB Studios as an executive director on the project. He wrote, it's not only great to be back on the cover of a video game, but the executive director role makes this a truly unique opportunity. 2K is the perfect partner for me, and I am excited to continue impacting the game and culture of golf beyond my play on the PGA Tour. I hope that they also get Spike Lee on there to be the executive producer, like in that 2K game, and like he wrote that weird video game ghost story.
A Tiger Woods joint.
Yes, a Tiger Woods joint. Exactly. Cool. I like those old Tiger Woods games. I like these new 2K golf games. They're cool to chill out with. I think they have great mechanics. They do a decent job of capturing those courses, or at least as much as they need to for me as a casual fan of golf. So and it works great. Like, it worked okay on the Switch. It's going to work great on Steam Deck. So I'll show up for this. This is neat.
Yeah, I loved the PS2 Tiger games. I thought that was a really good kind of run. The new games are I feel like they're a bit sterile. I feel like the old Tiger games, you'd get a lot of mini games and stuff like that with different modes. But I like this idea of Michael Jordan being in the game, not just because I'm a big Jordan fan, but this, as my colleague Chris Gullion said, this should introduce like other sports within the 2K license. So put Triple H in the game.
Yes.
The Undertaker. The Miz is literally in the trailer for PGA 2K23. So I like that. But the
Miz is in the trailer. We're doing what? Just being the Miz?
Golfing.
He's golfing. Is he going to be in the game? Can I play as the Miz?
No, he's just there in some Call of Duty YouTuber. Is it Nade Shot? Someone that looks like he made £1 trillion when he was like 17 from playing Call of Duty. He's in it as well. So yeah, it was weird. It was an interesting one. But yeah, as this mentions, currently the world of professional golf is falling apart. So it's an interesting time to do it.
The reference there for everybody. Saudi Arabia back once again. They are funding a competitor to the PGA Tour called Live Live. It's Live a Live. It's called Live a Live. Yeah. LIV basically, and they are paying a ton of money to get golfers from the PGA Tour to come play. And you don't have to like quit the PGA Tour to go play in there, except for if you do, the PGA Tour will fire you, and then you have to sue the PGA Tour to be like, this is anti-competitive if you're Phil Mickelson, which is what's happening. So tumultuous time in golf. People trying to get paid. Those poor golfers, they're just scraping by. So finally someone willing to give them money, finally willing to take that Saudi Arabian money just to eat. All right. Spider-Man is PlayStation's fastest selling PC game in the UK. This comes from Tom Ivan at VGC. Spider-Man Remastered has enjoyed PlayStation's biggest PC launch in the UK so far. Its first week sales were 26% above those of Sony's last major PC release, which was January's God of War, according to GSD data published on GamesIndustry.biz. Spider-Man Remastered is also the fourth biggest PC game release of the year in the UK, trailing only Elden Ring, Total War Warhammer 3, and Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga. Game came out on August 12th, and let's see, there's some Steam DB numbers here to help like put some stuff in perspective. Spider-Man reached a fewer peak concurrent players of 66,436, while God of War managed 73,529. And I think maybe that like helps speak to the fact that like, hey, concurrent numbers are only so useful. Like, yeah, more people playing at once, but like there's a lot of other factors, like time of year that these games are coming out is going to affect that stuff. And the God of War, when it maybe came around the similar time of year, but that was also like more during the pandemic, and yet people still showed up and bought Spider-Man, at least in the UK, more than they bought God of War. I bet that's probably pretty true across the board, though, in many regions. Not surprising, and it's the reason Sony's doing this, right?
Yeah, it's especially interesting because I thought that it was £50 in the UK. I'm not quite sure what it was in the US, but I thought that was like quite a lot for it, especially when Miles Morales isn't included, and they're going to sell that later in the year for however much that's going to be. But if it's doing well, it just makes sense. I think after Miles Morales, I mean, the information and the kind of data suggests that Returnal is very much coming, and I cannot wait for Returnal on the Steam Deck. Game of the year last year by 100 miles.
It's okay.
That is going to be, but I think it's going to be interesting because obviously we found the stuff about the PlayStation PC launcher and how that's going to take shape.
Yes,
if that's just going to be a thin launcher between Steam and the games to get trophies.
Probably at first, yes, I would imagine. But I would imagine they might have like ulterior plans that like could take them in different directions. Be like, hey, and now you just got to come over here to us, and we get all that money.
That store is going to be terrible. Think how bad the PlayStation store is on console, and they've been doing it for like 70 years. Like,
and they just they just upgraded it, they said, and it's still terrible.
Yeah, it's like I am so glad that the majority of interaction I have with the PlayStation store is just redeeming codes, because if I had to actually find stuff to like buy and play, it'd be hellish. But I think PlayStation's PC stuff is pretty great.
It's going to be a busy year. Like, so yeah, we got this. We think Returnal's coming soon. Uncharted Legacy of Thieves Collection's supposed to be coming soon, right? Last of Us Part 1, they said, would come to PC like pretty soon after the console launch. They said they're gonna make 300 million, but that's like there's a lot of stuff coming to PC from Sony this year, so it's gonna be pretty big for them. And it seems like there's probably gonna be some new stuff in terms of maybe one of their live service games that we haven't heard about yet, or maybe like the Last of Us thing that they're doing, the Last of Us multiplayer thing that they're doing. So
I wonder if they decide to start, if they have Last of Us and they have Uncharted and they pretty much definitely have Returnal, if they're going to like slow down the release cadence, because eventually you run out of back catalog stuff to put up. Right. They have Ratchet and they have like a few more kind of
Sackboy, right? Sackboy is supposed to be
The Order 1886, everyone's favorite.
I like it a lot, actually. I gave it like a 70. I always wish I would have gave it an 80 out of 100 instead. I would give it probably today a 4 out of 5. I like it a lot. Yeah, hey, listen, no one ever said I had good taste.
the phosphorus gun was cool or whatever. Like the gun where you like shot the smoke was cool. Imagine that in an ultra wide monitor, like with the letterboxing all the way around.
I mean, that's what I want Return on PC for is keyboard and mouse control, because that game would probably own with mouse control.
Did you ever complete Returnal?
Yes, absolutely, yes.
I got a lot of. You're one of the real ones.
Yeah, I got a hard time for that because they were like, "You didn't beat." I'm like, "No, when I wrote the review at first, I was still in the process of beating it, but like nothing changed once I beat it." And good. It's a good game that I think it just got too repetitive for me. It was too rote at a certain point. Yeah, Returnal. Yeah,
Returnal's like a 12 out of 10 kind of game. It's like the greatest of all time, probably.
I came from Hades to it, and it was just like, ooh, this they need to learn a few things from other roguelike games that know how to like make each build feel significantly different. So each run just feels like I'm doing things completely different this time than I was doing last time, and that game just didn't.
If they get around to Returnal, they really have to make it so that
I don't know if that came through with your accent. Say it again.
Returnal.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, we get it.
Like Rev 3R.
Yep.
They have to make it so that you pick up a certain gun and you don't go, okay, well, this run is absolutely over because I cannot do what I need to do. But yeah, the Returnal is absolutely clear. 7 stars VGC. I didn't review it.
A GTA developer claims Rockstar has issued a copyright strike against his prototype videos. This comes from Jordan Middler at VGC. Some nobody. I don't even know.
Professional gamer.
Rockstar Games has allegedly issued copyright strikes against 2 videos by original Grand Theft Auto developer Mike Daly, in which he showed old development materials. In a tweet, the developer, who was one of the founders of DMA Design, now Rockstar North, said, "I see Rockstar going full fuckers mode again, issuing copyright strikes to any GTA video they can, including both my prototype videos. So now they're trying to block all release of anyone's work on a game and my old development footage." The prototype in question showed off one of the original builds of GTA, which was created in the mid-90s when the Dundee-based DMA Design were still most well-known for the Lemmings franchise and Space Station Silicon Valley. Actually, that was probably before that, too. This is just Rockstar being Rockstar, right? They want to control everything when it comes to Grand Theft Auto, and they do not hesitate to, like, look like the big bullies stopping people from... They don't care if they look like a bully, right?
Yeah. Would you like me to read the tweets in a Scottish accent?
I was going to ask you to do that. Yeah, let's make it happen, please.
Yeah. I see Rockstar are going full fuckers mode again, issuing copyright strikes to any GTA videos they can find, including both my prototype videos. So now they're trying to block all release of anyone's work on the game, even old development footage.
Thank you so much for that. That was really, I really appreciate that good work there.
I'm sure Mike Daly speaks in a much nicer way, but
no, we don't want that.
This is a shame. It feels like Rockstar for a long time have not been ashamed of the DMA era, but they're just like, there was no DMA. We were Rockstar, and then we made GTA 3 and changed the world. So anything before then that isn't within their kind of... I know you saw how they reacted when the BBC made a dramatization of the creation of GTA. They absolutely flipped their lid. And I used to work at the BBC, and trying to work with them after that, had to go to them and be like, it wasn't me.
Yeah,
it wasn't me that personally made it.
I remember, like, I tweeted once, I was just like, oh, man, this fucking Grand Theft Auto 5 will not stop selling. It was like, it was at the top of the MPDs every month. And they were like, why'd you say this fucking Grand Theft Auto? I'm like, what are you? Chill out. Why are you? First of all, stop looking at my Twitter. Weird. That's weird. And second, like, no, I'm just like, to say them, like, exclaiming. I'm exclaiming. They're like, call it fucking Grand Theft Auto. That ain't cool. I'm like, okay, everybody, let's just calm down. Whatever, Rockstar is so weird.
You hear the story, like it's kind of strange juxtaposing that with Jason's story the other week about how they're kind of chilling out now. They're trying to make GTA 6 without killing a million developers, but they're still they're still Rockstar. They're still that company, you know. So they just really need to... I wish they would get the DMA people on board and do something about the history of Rockstar and have that all together, because they have all that material. There's a lot of good YouTube videos of local Scottish television news going to DMA and being like, the creators of this interesting Lemmings game, and you can see them all working away at it. And one of them has a clip where they're like, and their next project is going to take them stateside, and it has like a hand-drawn map of the original GTA.
Oh, wow.
All that stuff, that's like... that the history of games should be publicly available. Like,
yes, and the people like who were there should have the right to talk about it without like their old workers, old coworkers coming there and DMCA them. Then that's just, it's wild that you'd have to deal with that as someone who's like, firsthand accounting what was going on there. That BBC movie that Jordan mentioned, everyone, that Daniel Radcliffe played. Which Hauser did Sam Hauser? He played Sam Hauser.
It was Sam,
yeah. So watch that movie. Harry Potter creating Grand Theft Auto. It's good stuff.
They were very, very angry.
Yeah, and it's it's like such a mild take on everything too. It's like just a docudrama. The Ubisoft Plus subscription service may soon launch on Xbox. Jordan Middler at VGC with this one. The Ubisoft Plus subscription service may soon launch on Xbox. A logo for the service has been found by Lumia Italia, a user that scrapes the Xbox backend. The service was announced to be coming to Xbox in January, but this could indicate that Ubisoft is getting ready to launch its currently PC-only service on Xbox soon. Is Ubisoft, what is on PlayStation that you could subscribe to through Ubisoft? Is it not Ubisoft Plus?
That is part of one of the tiers of PlayStation Plus Premium. The PPP gives you a lot of old Ubisoft stuff. So it's like all their PS4 games plus Assassin's Creed Valhalla, whereas this PC service is all their new stuff plus all the DLC.
Fair enough. I was like, I remember that happened. Yeah, it was exactly. I was just like it's hard to keep track of all the various things you could subscribe to, which is why I think so many people are like, Xbox Game Pass is the only subscription service out there because no one wants to pay attention to everything else. Let's see, originally launched for PC as Uplay Plus in September 2019, Ubisoft Plus offers access to over 100 Ubisoft titles, including new games and DLC at launch for $14.99 per month. For $17.99 per month, subscribers can also access Ubisoft Plus on cloud gaming platforms Stadia as well as PC. Well, that's a deal right there for just $2 more, $3 more that you're in a business there. I'm just surprised it's taken this long for Ubisoft Plus to like make this move. It's the kind of thing where like, hey, EA's been on there for years and years and years, and they steadily grew pretty big. Now it's nowhere near as big as Xbox Game Pass, but I remember when I was like getting information about it, it's like, oh, we're at 1 million, and a few months later, I'm like, hey, what's going on? They're like, we're at 2 million now. So 2 million, 3 million, 4 to 5 million subscribers is like within reach if you're on console, and that's pretty good stuff, I would imagine, for these companies. It's just a regular, steady income source. So, it's the right move. I do wonder what took so long, though.
I wonder if they're waiting for an actual game to launch it with, because Ubisoft are kind of doing nothing at the moment, whereas EA, that service always gets a huge boost in September when FIFA does the 10-hour trial. Like, that is like such a popular thing. People search on Twitter all day, like, when is it going live? But if Ubisoft, I mean, our dearly departed Skull and Bones isn't coming out anytime soon, so maybe that that'll be the thing that they launch Uplay Plus with, and I'll pay any amount to play Skull and Bones early.
Of course, yeah.
But also, what is this going to be? Is this going to be a echo of the PC service? Are they going to do the new games thing, or is this going to be it's kind of the same thing? It's more just back catalog. It's more just EA, because EA have the PC version of their subscription service,
right? It
does
multiple
the
tiers.
New games thing, yeah, but that's not on console, so
right, yeah, only the back catalog. You're right, exactly. The lower tier version is the only one that's on console. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Sony is reportedly working on a Days Gone movie from Andy Robinson at VGC. Days Gone will reportedly be the next PlayStation franchise to be adapted into a feature film. According to Deadline, Sony's PlayStation Productions division is working on the Days Gone movie project with Oscar-nominated writer Sheldon Turner, who wrote Up in the Air and has a story credit for X-Men First Class. Scottish actor Sam Hugan, no, you say it. How do you say his name?
I would probably say that was Hugan.
Hugan, that makes some more sense. Sam Hugan, known for his roles in Outlander and Bloodshot, is said to be considered for the main role of Deacon St. John, with the script said to be a love ballad to motorcycle movies. This is Sam Witwer erasure. What the fuck is happening? They just based it on Sam Witwer for the game, and they're like, he ain't nothing. He ain't shit. We're not making a movie of that fucker. What is happening here?
So Days Gone is like the Sony third-person action IP I hate the absolute most.
Of course, yeah, it deserves it.
I just thought that game was absolute toilet, so the idea of making a film about it makes sense because it's dripping with Sons of Anarchy, so you can translate it into a film so easily. And that big horde of, what were they? Were they the Freakers? Was Freakers Days Gone?
That sounds like the kind of thing that a bunch of motorcycle like guys would be like, yeah, those are some freakers. They're just up on PCP or maybe something. I don't know. I hate these
chat
freakers.
Will know. The freakers in chat will let me know if that was correct. But the
freaker ears, that sounds right. You're clicking freaker ears.
the Horde would look excellent as part of a TV series. That's such
Sure.
an obvious opening episode. Look at all these freakers. But I don't know. Sony's game. I'm interested to see Sony's film and TV stuff start kind of rolling up. You're talking about it a bit later, but I thought the first footage of The Last of Us looked great. It looked exactly what I was expecting it to look like. But I just want to see someone painted as Kratos. I hope it's Christopher Judge. I hope they get Christopher Judge and put him in the ghost paint and make him Kratos. But
hell yeah, that's the way to do it.
He's Gone film. Wake me up when it's over.
Let's get to the catch up. We're gonna start here with the Saints Row review roundup. It's getting pretty beat up here early on. When I put the number on here for Metacritic, it was at 59 out of 100. Ooh, yeah, 10 away from nice. Yeah. Robert Ramsey at Push Square gave it a 7 out of 10, one of the better scores. It said, Saints Row is a largely successful reboot, even if it sometimes feels dangerously outdated in terms of open world design. Its story and characters can be hit and miss, but the experience is carried by fun gameplay and an endearingly dumb sense of humor. Despite the new faces, Saints Row is definitely still Saints Row, just bigger and probably better. Then we go to Jordan Middler at VGC, who gave it a 2 out of 5, said the Saints are back in one of the most dated and bug-ridden open-world games of the last decade. Our overwhelming takeaway after finishing Saints Row was how badly the open-world genre needs Grand Theft Auto 6, how the genre is so past the point of relevance that it needs the flag bearer for the open-world action game to once again provide a roadmap forward. When this game was first shown, there was such an outcry about whether the game had gone woke or in some way had modernized to make it so it wasn't a Saints Row game. You don't need to worry about modernization here. Jordan, what happened with Saints Row?
If you told me that this Saints Row came out the same year as like Watch Dogs 2 or something like that, I'd be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. It is the most, is 2022's 2014 game of the year. It's so incredibly dated, from its mission structure to the way it looks to the city. It's pretty small. It's one of these games that you could probably sit and play through and think nothing of it and think, okay, this is fine, whatever, but it's so buggy. Like, towards the end of my playthrough, in fact, no, after the end of my playthrough where I am now, my guns stopped working to where I would shoot one clip and I couldn't reload. The only way to get more bullets was to restart the console. So it feels like it's really coming in hot. It feels like it could have been kicked to December or anything like that, or kicked further, but it's just not great. The characters are fine. They're not as teeth grindingly kind of irritating as they seemed from some of the pre-release stuff. Even the stuff that you like the Saints for, like insurance fraud and all these side missions, I feel like they were put in last minute because the developers were like, we need insurance fraud because people want insurance fraud, rather than they were like, okay, let's do this new big take on it. So it's a real disappointment. I wanted a solid 7 or 8 out of 10 open world action game, and instead I was hit with these really deep flashbacks to Far Cry 6, where I was like, this genre is dead. Open world games are absolutely dead. Like, we can't keep doing it like this. So yeah, it's
Hey, what, like, you started off on it like it's probably gonna hit that 7. Like, what were there some moments that stuck out to you, or just like, oh, okay, I can't do this?
The first couple of missions are nicely strung along. There's some nice set pieces and things like this that make you think, okay, this could be quite fun, and a kind of Saints Row, not as good as Saints Row the Third, but maybe like a Saints Row 4 tier kind of game.
Sure.
And then it opens up and you have this kind of city management of building your empire, and all those side quests are a bit dull. You actually explore the city and it feels like there's no one around. It's meant to be a Las Vegas adjacent kind of city, but it's so dead. It's so incredibly lifeless. It feels undercooked. The missions have you doing a lot of different things, which is good, but the shooting is just terrible with basically every gun. And no matter how many times I adjusted the way it felt, it was just it was rubbish. What did this heathen Dan Reichert think?
Yeah, so you mentioned a bunch of times buggy and undercooked and stuff like that. Dan Reichert, who we talked about this, he was feeling pretty good about the game, and then he ran into this. I intended on having a Saints Row review up today, but roughly 10 to 12 hours in, I encountered a game-breaking bug on the Xbox version. All my character was able to do was run. No jumping, shooting, entering cars, etc. This also affected all my previous saves. This bug was not included in the list of known issues that were to be addressed in the day one patch. I reached out several times regarding this, but did not get any response that would indicate that the bug has been addressed. So yeah, I think this is the kind of thing where I'm like, had everyone else the reviews came out and had not mentioned any sort of bugs, I'd been like, this is probably a one-off thing that no one else is going to encounter. But to me, it seems like, oh, people are probably going to encounter a lot of variations of something like this going forward with this game. So it's rough.
And it makes you wonder how much of this is like pandemic related, like not being able to polish the game, because even
how much is Embracer related,
like,
right? Like how much of this is just the way that they're going to make games. So I was going through I'm like, okay, let me figure out the string of like publishers here. So this is developer Volition, and their publisher is Deep Silver. But then I click it on the Deep Silver wiki. I'm like, right, they're under PlayOn. They're under PlayOn now because they were under Koch Media, right? They were under Media, and so I'm clicking on PlayOn, and then PlayOn is a subsidiary of Embracer Group. So like this is just what, like, you know, that web of publishers under Embracer. Do we continue to have any sort of reason to believe that Embracer games will be more than this in the future? It feels like that what happened here is everyone working on this game, I'm sure, knew the state it was in, probably would have loved to have another year, another 2 years to like make this into that GTA like 5 equivalent that it probably needed to be to like even be relevant. And let alone it's not coming as that, it's coming in hot and broken. And to me, it just seems like maybe this is going to be Embracer's business model. Just, hey, we got a big name. We can put the game out. It's one of the only games coming out around this time, and we don't care what state it's in. Just put it out. To me, this is already the reputation I think Embracer's going to have coming out of something like this, right?
I mean, they're following the THQ path perfectly. Like, really excited for Dead Island 2 when that comes out. That's going to be a real banger. It feels like a 360 era game that came out in the afterglow of GTA 4, being like, okay, we want open world games. It feels like a rip-off of Saints Row the Third, despite being from the same franchise. Like, it's just right. It's such an incredibly disappointing game. I think the one thing that people need to take away from this, and there will be some absolute brain dead fools on the internet that are like, oh, we told you, it's gone woke, it's terrible now, it's gone woke. That stuff, first of all, encompasses about 1% of the game. Second of all, totally like irrelevant. And the problems with this game, you could write a list of 300 different issues before you got to the characters are a bit annoying and a bit up themselves. So yes, it's I could not believe some of the high scores. I was like, we played different games. We played absolutely different games.
I mean, I think some people are going to have a little bit more, like for some people, open world games, be they completely run through or not, this is their jam. This is what people come to games for. So I think that's probably the tolerance level is just different, I think, for some people. But even then, yeah, it seems pretty questionable. I have a code. I'm gonna try this game. I have not played a single second of it yet. I've just been too busy. I'm gonna try it out. I'll see. I really love Saints Row 3. I really love Saints Row 4, specifically for the characters. So I was always a little bit hesitant about this one. I want to give it a chance, though. We'll see. Not like there's a ton else coming out, right? So
yeah,
I'll check in on it.
Saints Row 3 or Skyrim?
Oh yeah, the I think at the time I was probably Skyrim, and I think at this point I would say Saints Row 3. Yeah, probably. I love Skyrim too. I mean, honestly, it's
Skyrim 2. Is that an official announcement?
Here it is, everybody. Welcome to the Grubb Snacks. Let's hit it. Yummy. Okay.
It'll be out in 3010.
Yep.
Oh well, if this is going back to Grubb Snacks, I better get the CMS open. And
you better get to work. You better get your ass to work. The Last of Us TV series footage has been shown. This is just from like a promo for HBO. Finally, like it's got to be part of like the House of Dragons coming out, so everyone's gonna be watching. We need to show off what else is happening. It just shows a few scenes of Joel and Ellie walking through The Last of Us, doing Last of Us things in a Last of Us way with Last of Us music. I still have no need for this show. I think it's going to be a big deal, though. I think it's going to be pretty big for them. What's your kind of like temperature on this?
I'm excited to see it. I think if the Joel and Ellie relationship is nailed, then the whole thing works. Like that's going to be the real key. You'll know by the end of episode 1 if it's been a success. I don't think this needs to be amazing, but I think I want it to be good enough where PlayStation TV shows continue. I don't want this to be like, remember when they tried The Last of Us?
Right. You remember Powers? Remember that shit? Like, yeah, exactly. You don't want one of those situations.
Yeah, but I think aesthetically it all looks great. It feels like I have seen 10 episodes of this show via people filming like outside of apartment blocks, just watching it get filmed. So yeah, I think it's incredible. I'm surprised actually that it's not coming out like in a couple of weeks to tie in with the game, like it's coming out next year. But I also think, and this is purely speculation before I get into trouble, I also think they will put Last of Us 2 in a PS5 box and have like a double pack when that show is ready to go. So it's all just not that the HBO thing would be sitting on the shelf per se, but it would be like you've seen the show.
Well, I mean, they worked with Witcher, right? I mean, it's the absolute Witcher model where Witcher was on Netflix. It was just a show you could watch on Netflix, and it was the second best selling year for The Witcher 3 because of the Netflix show. People just went looking for more Witcher stuff. And they're like, oh, well, I know the game's out there. I've heard that name before. And a ton of people bought it. They are absolutely hoping for the same thing here. And so positioning these games to be like on the shelf ready to go for people who are doing that search is a smart move. And I think The Last of Us is the kind of thing that would serve that sort of audience well. The audience that likes prestige TV are going to show up for this game. And they're really, really, really going to like these games. So, yeah, it's going to work out good for them. All right, I got some polls from last week. Let's see here. Which of these games? Yeah, I got some polls. Yeah, polls. Which of these games to finish out August are you most excited about? Midnight Fight Express, Destroy All Humans 2, Pac-Man World Repack, or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Cowabunga Collection? Well, Cowabunga Collection came out on top with 36.3% of the vote. Then Midnight Fight Express with 31.8%. Then Pac-Man World Repack 16.1%. And Destroy All Humans 2 at 15.8%. So, I mean, there's obviously bigger games. People are pointing out that they, I didn't put Saints Row in here. I wonder where it would be now, like with that vote. And then there was that's some JRPG or something everyone was yelling at me about. And I'm like, I don't care. It's too bad. Get over it. Good. Yeah.
Shut these people down. They don't deserve the oxygen.
Right. Do something about it. Someone needs to do something about them finally. You got any games you're looking forward to in the near future, though, Jordan?
As soon as I'm done on Saints Row, I'll be moving on to the Last of Us review. So I'm looking forward to getting on with that. That is the 31st of August at like 3 p.m. is the review embargo for that. So that'll be I just want to play it like casually, and because this will be the first time I've played through it from start to finish since PS3. Because when I got it on PS4, I played a bit of it, then mainly played the multiplayer, which I do miss. So I'm interested to see if it still holds up the same, especially because there was all that chat about they don't have the Last of Us 2 gameplay improvements, which do make the Last of Us 2 a much better game. So will it feel dated? Will the giraffe looking nice just carry it for me? We will see. So you're going to play Saints Row. What's wrong with you?
Yeah. I'm like, so yeah, for this next poll is your excitement more, less, or unaffected after seeing the Saints Row reviews? I'm going to go with I'm more excited, less excited, never cared, and excitement is unaffected. Let's go ahead and pop that in there. Let's put game.
I've got a lot of respect for the people that say they're more excited after a 2 out of 5 review.
I mean, maybe I'm more excited because I'm like, I got to see this for myself. Game Best Mornings. Let's hit it. All right. Jordan, why do you tell people where... Okay, go ahead.
I look forward to your really earnest kind of like... We should critically reevaluate Saints Row in 6 months' time.
I'm going to do it in 2 days. In 2 days, I'm going to do it. I'm going to be like, guys, it's time. People were wrong. We need to reassess this. I want to speed up the cycle a little bit. Okay. Yeah, Jordan, where can people find you?
You can find my reviews, ramblings, and news over at Video Games Chronicle. If you want to listen to the world's worst podcast, the Overload Podcast, is myself, GamesIndustry.biz's Danielle Partis, and Blazing Griffin's Harry Mitchell, predominantly doing impressions of Jeff Grubb and Jim Ryan, but there's also a wee bit of kind of game news and about that. People say my impression of you sounds like Ben Shapiro, and I think that's an insult because I think it's pretty good.
That's fucked up. I could see it though. I talk fast too, but I talk fast and I'm not a weasel though. That's the big difference. You got to get a little bit less weaselly. That's what we need. And
I'm not saying there's going to be a PlayStation event in September.
My God, it sounds just
that's not you. Tell me that's not you.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. That's what I sound like. Shit. All right. Let's see. What's happening on Giant Bomb? I'm gonna probably play Xenoblade Chronicles 3 again today. Part 3 of that stream, that ongoing project there that will not ever be finished. You stop saying that, chat. You stop it. Not going to finish that game. But I'm going to do part 3 today. We're going to play more of it because I'm still into it. And then I'm going to go right now. The meeting is starting right the second. We're going to go figure out what's happening for the rest of the week. We're going to probably record some more slow runners that'll go up probably not this week, maybe next week, some stuff like that. But expect some quick looks. We'll probably do something with Saints Row. And then all your favorite shows will return this week. Look out for the voicemail dump truck, the Giant Bomb cast, Unprofessional Fridays, things like that. And with all that, Jordan, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. I am. This is a real moment because sitting on my desk, as it has been for a long time, is
that's impressive.
Coin.
Your challenge coin.
Yeah, it's actually a special edition. It's bigger than my head, but I'm a huge Giant Bomb fan, and I'm very happy to see how you guys have been getting on.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
I mean, I'm still a bit gutted that it was you and not me, but, you know.
Of course. I mean, I did everything I could to stop you and prevent you from going forward in life. That's what my whole mission here. So, got to keep at it. Thank you, everybody, for watching. You're the best audience in gaming. Until next time, have a good one. Take care of yourself, and goodbye.